Welcome to the Business of Apparel podcast. This is the place to learn how to start and scale your own apparel brand and fill it with loyal customers for years to come. I'm your host, Rachel Erickson, owner and CEO of Unmarked Street, and I can't wait to share this episode with you. Welcome back to the Business of Apparel podcast. Today, I am so excited to have with me Magda Lasota, who is the founder and owner of MLM Brand. Now, Magda and I got to meet a little bit last year. She is one of the winners of our brand audit giveaway that we did back in November. And so I have been so pleased to be working with her over the last several months, just kind of getting this information to her. And I really wanted to have her on today because her brand is just amazing. And I just find her to be such an inspiring woman and brand owner. So welcome to the podcast, Magda. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and thank you so much for being so sweet. I feel like from the first moment that we got connected, and this thing that the universe just makes these connections happen sometimes, because it was pretty random on not random, because we are in the same apparel space, right? You're on the business side of it. I'm on the fashion side of it. But I want a giveaway with you, right? And then so we ended up connecting on the phone, and it was such a beautiful chat. I felt like I just met, my best friend. So I am just so happy to be here. You're very kind, and I also feel very inspired by you and your experience and how you are able to build business around it, and and just how honest you are about everything, and honest and open, because I feel like there is a lot of people out there, and I think I'm not only speaking for myself, when we all just kind of scratch our heads, and I'm like, how are they just doing it, pulling it off without a hitch? And really what they're doing is not sharing it, right? So
so true. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's been huge for us. I think, coming from corporate, and one of my big pillars that I wanted to put into the company was just let's share the real information, because a lot of people do like to hide it, and I don't know why. So thank you for saying that. It means a lot to me. But I would love for you to start just telling us all about MLM Brand, your passion behind it, and the kind of products that you offer, and its story.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I'm going to try to keep it brief and focused. But, I realized that the idea behind the brand is almost a decade old. And I know it because my oldest son turned 10 just a few months ago, and then I am going to be turning 40. So it's always going to be a round number.
I love that.
But, the idea of doing something in the maternity space was born about a decade ago, when my first son was born, and I found myself with, husband in medical school, myself just starting on my corporate career, fresh off grad school. And I actually got pregnant the first year of my,
what a good story.
At work. It was crazy because the struggle the stress of, and the worry that I had, whether I will be eligible for FMLA, which you're only eligible at that time. It was in Chicago, again, probably one of the more generous states. You basically you had to be at your job for a year, and I think I started in January, and my boy was due December 15th that year. So it was literally we were looking at the dates of when we signed when I signed the contract. So it all worked out in the end. I worked until December 15th, and my son was born on December 22nd. So it all worked out. But this is sort of the year, almost a decade ago, that I started having this idea that I think a lot of new moms can relate to. All of a sudden you have a child, and yes, before you are the corporate mom, you wanted to do it all. You're like, I got this, I graduated, I'm going to get this amazing job, I'm going to start a family. And then you realize, how am I supposed to do it? It's I feel like a lot of new moms can relate to that. Not only that physically, it's very, it's doable. Should we do it? I don't think so. I think we all should have more support. there's also the emotional side of it, of leaving your baby behind
Yep.
and wondering why does the rest of the world have paid leave, and I was extremely privileged with my 12 weeks of paid leave and the 12 weeks that I got to bond with my first child, and
Yeah.
I still felt like it wasn't enough. So with all these feelings, I knew that I had to figure out to make, motherhood work for me and not, the other way around. So I started to play with with different ideas and what I wanted to do, and then ended up founding this company that came from my own experience as I worked in corporate world, and I had a 1-year old. I
Mhm.
pumped for him, every day. And I still have those two nursing bras that are just, whenever I question myself whether what I'm doing is even worth it, I look at those, decade old frumpy bras that, I have, and they have sentimental value for me, and also inspired me to create something better,
Yeah.
because the mission at the core of MLM Brand is to create better choices when it comes to postpartum clothing for new moms. Again, I wanted moms to not have to worry about what they have to wear once they give birth. I think there is a lot of clothes for pregnancy. You can make a lot of clothes work for your pregnant belly.
Yeah.
But if you are a mom who is choosing to, either breastfeed or, nurse or pump, and if you're a mom who either has to go to the office or like kind of lives in this gray area between, the motherhood and career, and just trying to pivot and pause for that chapter of motherhood, then you really need think about, like, what am I going to wear if I'm bringing
Yeah.
my baby to a meeting, and how to do it in a discreet and comfortable and stylish way, that feels good to you as a new person that was also born when you became a mother. So that's basically the inspiration behind the brand. I probably should have mentioned that I do have a collection of nursing clothes, because before I started designing my own clothes, because I wanted to buy, and I bought from major brands. I also bought nursing clothes from my
Yeah.
competitors that were already like on the market, and I was disappointed. I
Mm.
was disappointed. So I know that I've been just really going slowly with MLM Brand as a bootstrapped business. I am at a mercy of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I always say, like, I have this big dream and big vision, and my budget always kind of brings me back to reality. But it's, it's all good. I love the journey. I'm grateful for how far we've come,
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important to mention too that brands who are growing small and bootstrapping like need amazing support from their community. And just when I'm watching you on social and on Instagram, I think you have such a beautiful community, and your story is so inspiring, and like your mission to make all of these amazing apparel pieces that make mothers feel and look good, like in this crucial part of their journey, I just think is so important. And so I'm so excited to be helping you just like get the message out there, number one, but to also be like
Yeah,
just helping
thank
you think
you.
about how to grow. It's such an honor.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much, Rachel. Yeah, and it's been a humbling journey, right? Because again, the vision that I have in my head, and even as someone who doesn't have background in fashion, I always say I have passion for fashion, but my
Yeah.
background is more public policy and political science. So it's been such a humbling experience, to even navigate the relationship with with my factories, with the pattern maker. Like, what I envision in my head doesn't always look the same on the first sample.
Yes.
And it's been, yeah, it's been interesting. I think, I had mentioned this before, like during one of our conversations. Sometimes I wonder if, as every entrepreneur, I have my ups and downs, and
Totally.
one day I'm riding the high wave, and the other one, the ocean just like swallows me. Um, And I'm actually have a pretty good visual of the giant waves. We were in Laguna Beach yesterday, and the
Yeah.
waves were crazy, and people try to like surf them, and I'm like, that is exactly how I feel sometimes.
I love that.
So, but I feel like it's part of life, and I feel like one of the best lessons that I've learned as an entrepreneur is to get comfortable with when things just go wrong.
Yeah.
And as a sort of type A, I want to have everything planned and I want to have a schedule kind of person. Like I just don't even do it anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's things just happen that are
Yeah.
out of our control, and to be able to pivot and not cry yourself to sleep for a week, like
Yes.
it's a really important skill. You have to take a deep breath and just figure out, you know what, let me cry for 10 minutes. The pre-orders are going to be late. I might have to return some money to some people. But then, get up and try again and try to fix it
Yeah.
and try to move forward.
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's an absolute roller coaster to be an entrepreneur and to own any kind of a small business. And just kudos to you and to all of you listeners too, who are out there doing it, because it's such a hard thing every single day. And so I want to go back just a little bit. You were just mentioning your manufacturer and
Oh,
your
yes.
factory, and I love that you are manufacturing locally. I think it is something that is so important for our industry. And so, can you tell us a little bit about what it's been like to manufacture, like right there in LA where you are?
It's honestly incredible, and as we speak, I am in the process of figuring out how to pick up my tank tops, the short sleeve and the long sleeve ones, because
Love
they are
it.
ready. They're waiting for me. So I really love that. I actually worked with few manufacturers, all domestic. Some were in Chicago, and now ever since I moved to LA almost 4 years ago, we've been manufacturing in LA, and I feel like I really found my people.
That's good.
The
Yay.
factory is owned and run by a family. They hire local people, and I go there, I would say, at least like once a month to like drop off zippers, or I have to drop off some hang tags, and I absolutely love it. I know it is a little bit more expensive than manufacturing overseas, but to me, the price difference, which isn't, it's not huge. It's just not worth, going
Yeah.
overseas. I think the beautiful relationship that I have with my current factory, and the fact that like everything stays local, right?
Yeah.
The manager who manages my production, Nate, who is always, texting, making sure like, oh, is this where we're putting the label? I just think to myself, like, how lucky am I to have this factory that
Yeah.
that employs local people and helps local economy. And yeah, I have my husband, like he's just looking at the numbers, right? So he always says like, okay, at one point, at one point, this is gonna have to change. And I'm like, maybe, but I just really, I think it's priceless, and I try to share it with our community,
Yeah.
how wonderful it is to, the saying like, who, when, and where made your clothes. It's so
Yes. Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a balance, right? Like, I think number one, there's good and bad factories all over the world. And I also think when you really
Yes.
start factoring in, tariffs and customs fees and taxes and all of that to import from a lot of different places outside of the US, sometimes we find that the price difference isn't actually that much. And so, at what point does it become more valuable to you and your community to be able to say, I produce locally? Because it is such a more sustainable footprint for you and your brand to be able to drive down the street and pick up your production, as opposed to like needing it to get on a plane or needing it to get on a boat. And that ends up being really valuable. I think it really speaks to the quality level that you're also committed to at your brand. And I know you do some like pre-loved items, and you are always super open to refunds and returns and all of that stuff. And I think that is also above and beyond in especially a lot of the fast fashion market that we're seeing these days. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about your pre-loved collection, but I just want to point out that like
Yes.
if you're out there shopping, like looking for a brand who does this kind of stuff, like manufactures locally and has pre-loved items, indicates to you immediately the quality of the goods that you're going to get. And so I'll have Magda talk about her pre-loved here, but I just want to point that out. That's key.
Yes, no, and this idea sort of came from, when we would do a photo shoot. I would have, well, actually, I kind of started playing with this idea when I started to get like exchanges or returns. So one of the things that I don't love about it being an e-commerce business is that you actually don't get to try the pieces on
Right.
before you buy it, right? So frequently I will have customers purchase two sizes of the same piece, right?
Yep.
And so they're medium and large, and then they will end up returning one of them. So then I have this piece that might have deodorant marks.
Right.
Cat hair is easy to clean, but we've also had like baby spit up, and
Sure.
clearly things that like I wouldn't feel comfortable selling back at $100 price tag. So I started asking my community, and I know that my our pieces are priced a little bit higher than some of our competitors, and there's a reason behind it, right?
Yeah.
But I did want to be more accessible, and so I just put this idea out there to our community on Instagram back when people still watched my stories and liked, and
It changes day to
things.
day. Yeah.
It does, right? And I just put this idea out there, like, how would you feel if we did have this sort of collection of not we call it a collection, but it's really pieces that were either exchanged or returned, and maybe they aren't like as fresh as a brand new piece, but there really isn't nothing wrong with it, right?
Yeah.
How would you feel about having those available at a 50% off, or 50 to 70% off?
Wow.
And people love this idea, loved it so much that as we kind of gotten bigger and we had photo shoots where I always send like double of the same piece in both sizes, because sometimes we don't know if one piece might feel better to a mom in size medium and the other piece could be large. Like I find myself, as my body is changing, and again, like I've been a mom for 10 years. So now I'm like, my body really is changing in different ways. And so I find myself wanting to wear size small as opposed to extra small that I would wear, in the past. So, after a photo shoot, I would have, a box, let's say if it was 4 moms, I would have 15 dresses or tops that were used for a photo shoot, and the moms decided to keep the other size, or they always get shop credit, so maybe they wanted to order a brand new piece. So that's kind of where this idea came from. And as soon as we kind of launched it, people loved it. I think people love a good sale, and that sounded like a good deal for them. And so I was just like really happy that that took off. One of the things that I actually have to address with the community is that because, to minimize the waste and the shipping back and forth. We unfortunately can't. Once you buy a pre-loved piece, we're not going to be able to. If there is an exchange possible, like we might be able to exchange, but I prefer not to exchange, and definitely not to return, because it really just like we pay so much for shipping that like it negates the whole idea. So I've noticed that in the past, the people who would buy the pre-loved pieces were our existing customers. So they knew that the little breastfeeding dress, was a perfect fit in size extra large. They see a pre-loved piece in color navy, they will order it, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I thought about it. But I realized that it actually turned into just anyone kind of grabbing the pre-loved piece, and they're like, oh, the medium is, it doesn't fit me right, or it's too big, it's too large, can I exchange? And I'm like, I don't have another piece. Right. And then so oftentimes what I would do which is so not good for business, I would just exchange it for like the brand new piece, right? Because I really just wanted them to have that piece, but I know.
Yeah.
So I have to address that with the community. I think that, if you are unsure if you're going to keep it, I would suggest not ordering the pre-loved piece. Order a full price piece and you can have, a free return, free exchange. And we don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah.
But yes,
I think that's
the pre-loved selection is very popular. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. I think that speaks loads about like the person that you are, though, that you just wanted to make it right. You just want to do the right thing for your customer. So like kudos to you for that again, too.
Yeah, well, it's hard because, I feel like, and I am from Poland, so my husband grew up here, and I can tell you how many times we clash on this because I am such a like good customer.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to exchange, like I don't want to complain, like I never send food back, at a restaurant unless there's like someone's hair in it. I don't know, it's a different sort of mentality. And I do know that brands in Poland are still aligned with how I was raised. It's very interesting.
Are you frustrated by feeling like an outsider in your own industry? You're not alone. I spent years feeling the same way. Are you tired of endless research and you can only learn this stuff by getting a job in fashion advice? Me too. That's why I created the Business of Apparel online course. My years of insider knowledge condensed into video tutorials, demos, and downloads. Learn at your own pace, no fluff. Just key topics like building target profiles and mastering financials. This information is genuinely unavailable anywhere else. Grow your brand, become an apparel industry aficionado, and unlock millions in potential revenue. The value? Over $50,000 with millions potential for your brand. Don't miss out. Sign up for the Business of Apparel online course today at thebusinessofapparel.com/course.
I remember when we were in Poland, my husband came. We've been married 15 years, so he had come a few times already. But one of the first times he came, I remember we were at the pizza restaurant. And don't laugh, but in Poland, Polish people put corn on their pizza, right?
Oh, I bet that would be good. I would like that.
My husband is like, I know it's usually like it'll be called like a Mexican pizza, right?
Yeah.
So you have like all the Mexican and you'll have corn. Anyways, my husband always laughs at it. Like only Polish people put corn on their pizza. But I remember like he wanted to order pizza and he wanted everything except the corn on it. And I was like, you can't do this. This is why they want. And now like living here for so long and I'm like, yeah, I have no problem saying like, could you not put feta cheese on this or that, right? So it's just like, it's how I grew up and the culture that I was raised in. And there's a few Polish clothing brands that I adore and order from. And for example, their returns are not free. You have to pay for shipping and you have to pay for return because that's what you have to pay for.
Yeah.
So it's very different.
Yeah. Well, I don't think people realize how much it costs small business brands to handle returns. After like being a part of different clients, like kind of ecosystems and learning all about that, like it is extremely expensive to cover shipping costs for returns. And I've been part of conversations with some of my clients to say like, we have to stop doing this. We have to come up with some sort of situation because it ends up putting a lot of brands in the hole. And so it's a really tough thing to do. I totally get why people would be charging for some of that stuff.
Yeah. And it really is a big problem and you can see that and you probably know even better than I do. But there are companies that basically facilitate that return process for you. Mm-hmm. So for a while, a dear friend of mine, Jazz, she was trying to launch this company. She's taking a break now, but she was trying to launch this company where basically I wouldn't handle the returns. it was an app where, for example, we would have a wait list. So if something was out of stock, they would be you would get on that list and you'll say like, I'm waiting for the tier dress in size medium. And as soon as someone was returning or exchanging, you would get an email and you would be able to buy it at a discounted price. And then that person would ship it directly to the person waiting from the wait list.
Oh, that's
I don't know if I explained
smart.
it right, or, very smart. I love the idea. But we all know that just having an idea is not going to make a business. So I know there are other companies. One of the reasons she's trying to like pivot was because there are other companies already doing it very efficiently. I can't imagine companies like Zara or H&M when they handle so many. I mean, I see moms here in our neighborhood, these giant Zara boxes, like walking, Century City Mall, just return everything. And you think they're going to like steam everything? And no,
they just put it back on the shelf. Yeah. It's a different world.
So that's kind of the idea and the inspiration behind the pre-loved pieces. But I do have to just kind of put it out there for our community that let's be more strategic about like how we order if we're not sure about if we're going to return it or not.
Totally. Yeah, I think that's very fair. I'd love to hear, I know you have a great community. I'd love to hear if you have like a favorite customer story, maybe someone who reached out to you and like just really benefited from something that you made or something that they ordered from you.
There's quite a few stories.
I bet there are, yeah.
And I always feel so special when I hear from our moms, because I feel like there is a group that we're in constant messaging mode, right? We're always like messaging and like hyping each other up and just moms who have been like bought a first piece like 3 years ago, and they're on their third child and they're like waiting for the next colors to come, and I wish happy birthday to their kids. So there are moms like that, but I feel like a lot of newer community members might not feel as comfortable, maybe reaching out. So whenever someone does send a message, it means the world to me, because I feel like people are so busy that when they do actually take the time to message me, like it means the world. But, the one store, actually, it's just 2 days ago.
Love that.
Someone who had been in the community for a while. She's also in the lactation space. She bought her first piece and she bought the tier dress. And I'm not gonna, if she's gonna listen, she'll know what I'm talking about. But she bought the tier dress and she messaged me and she said, Magda, I need it, like, stop. I need it, for Saturday. I think it was Monday. And so I went ahead and I shipped it next day, air and UPS air, and it got to her 2 days later. So we were so happy. I also included a little surprise there for her. And so she messaged me and she said, we have been following each other for years, right? And I've always wanted to buy a piece, from you. And I finally got it, and I get it. The quality of the fabric. So the tier dress is made out of a blend of linen and rayon. So it's it kind of feels light and heavy at the same time.
Yeah,
I don't know
what
how
you
to
mean.
really explain
It's probably
it.
super soft.
Yeah, it's soft, but it feels like it feels. I mean, when you put it on, it feels like cooling, but also like kind of heavy, but also airy and breezy. The customer, she described it in such a beautiful way. And she said, I get it. Now that I touch the fabric, like I get it. And she also shared that she had bought a dress from one of my competitors, not gonna, say the name. And she ended up giving it away. It was made out of polyester, and she said, I couldn't wear it. I'm like, I can relate to that. And that was the reason why the polyester prints can be so beautiful, right? But as a breastfeeding mom and pumping mom and now perimenopause mom, I don't know what I'm entering. Like, I cannot wear anything that isn't made out of natural or close to natural fabrics because I sweat. And I'm telling you, like, I
Yeah.
don't usually sweat, but these fabrics make me sweat, and they're just not good for your skin and for your baby. So,
No.
hearing this from a mom who was a first time customer, but she had been following the brand for a really long time, it meant the world. It really kind of,
Aw.
it's one of these moments where you're like, this is what I'm doing it. I maybe
Yes.
the sales have been like slower the last few months. I know everyone is dealing with that, but a customer like this, a sale like this, it's priceless. It
Yeah.
really is the why I continue to
Yeah.
keep going.
I love that. That's so good.
Yeah.
So tell us what's coming up next for MLM Brand. I know we've talked through a couple of different fun things, but yeah, tell us what's coming up this spring, maybe later this year.
So finally, we are adding colors to all of our styles.
Yay, how
So
fun.
for about a year now, over a year, we've only had black in stock because I've been trying to figure out my finances and again, as a bootstrap business, that's something I had to plan for.
Mhm.
And also something I wanted to mention, Rachel, before, the reason why we are manufacturing, and I'm sorry I'm switching to a topic,
No,
but
that's
this is
okay.
kind of tied to everything that we were saying. The reason why we're also manufacturing, in domestically in LA is because they let us have lower minimums. Yes, we
Yeah.
pay, premium for having lower minimums, but
Yeah.
that also ties in to what I always share on with our community. We only make as much as we can sell, and it's
Love
still,
that.
I feel like what we produce. I worry about it, like how long is it going to be sitting, in my studio. I feel like it should just be moving quickly, but we
Yes.
all know it might take a few months. So I also, that's something I'm really proud of. We only make as much as we can sell. I
Mm.
could go overseas. I could get lower quantities, or not lower. Actually, their quantities tend to be
Higher,
much
yeah.
much higher because the price is much lower.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'm not ready for it. I can't order 1,000 pieces of a black dress because I don't know if I'm going to be able to sell it,
Right. Right.
as sort of quickly as I can. So what's coming up for MLM Brand? We are adding new colors. So I am actually going today and tomorrow to pick up our tops, the sleeveless one and the long sleeve
Yay.
top, in 3 additional colors. So I'm really excited for that. That's going to be followed by the everyday dress and the little breastfeeding dress, also in 3 additional colors. So I
Nice.
think that's going to add, nice sort of variety to our offering, especially with summer around the corner. And then the last piece that's going to get more colors is the tier dress. That's the one that made out of linen and rayon
That's great.
fabric. And we are trying to see if we can actually make it in, it comes in this like natural, like beautiful natural linen color,
Oh, that would
but
be
we're trying to see if
amazing.
we can dye it. Yeah, it's such a beautiful color, but we're seeing if we can actually dye it to like a cappuccino brown.
Yeah.
So that's what's coming up. I have a lot of questions always about new styles coming up, and honestly, I would love to. As I said, my vision is huge. My dream is even bigger, but my budget just keeps me humble. So, honestly, I always go back to this idea, like how big is going to be big enough for me, right? I feel
Yeah.
like it's up to me to decide what success means to me, and I already feel so successful
Aw.
with what I've built and with the beautiful community that I have, that I'm good. I
love
think
that.
that as a breastfeeding mom, you absolutely don't need a ton of clothes. I think you need a few staples that are high quality that you
Yeah.
can use it day in and day out in that season, and that is what's important to me. Focusing on pieces that moms find valuable, that moms love and want to wear. And I don't know if how much we're going to be growing, our collection. I do have, an idea for a couple more dresses, but as I said, the pieces that we have right now are selling really well, and there is a huge cost always associated with
Making
creating a
development.
new piece.
Yep, absolutely.
So I think that maybe 2024 will not see any new styles. Instead, we're going to be focusing on reaching a broader audience with the collection that we have, with the colors that we have. We are trying to. I keep saying we, but it's
Yeah,
me.
I know.
I am
I do
trying
that too. Like the
to.
royal we.
Yes. No, I actually do have to say I did hire a wonderful virtual assistant a
Good.
few months ago, and she has been wonderful. I really needed help with consistent email marketing and with solid blog ideas, and she is knocking it out of the park.
That's
I
awesome.
love what she just truly gets me, and I love that. Allison, if you're gonna listen, it's about
Shout out.
you. um and so but she's not working on like day to
Right.
day, getting into stores part of the business, but that's what I'm going to focus on for MLM Brand in 2024, with the new style, with the new colors coming in, and all of our styles like fully restocked. I really want to be able to have our pieces in some of the maternity boutiques. It's not
Yeah.
easy because there aren't that many brick and mortar stores out there. But we recently had our pieces featured in a boutique in New Jersey, in
Yeah.
Pittman, New Jersey, Milk and Lavender Boutique. Yes. So that's one boutique. But I think that's kind of what's on the agenda for MLM Brand. And as with being a business owners, there's never a boring day. And the second you
Yeah.
think like, oh, this is great. This is great. I'm going to take a break now. This is all going well. You know that something's gonna
Yep.
require your attention,
Inevitably.
right? And so I feel like it's marketing for us and for other brands now. Instagram is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
So I am currently thinking of some creative ideas to reach new moms and new audiences that are outside of Instagram. And actually it's been great. There are groups of moms I didn't even know until I started looking into it, where they go on walks together. It's like it's kind of like Fit for Mom, but for
Love that.
walking.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it's wonderful. So just kind of reaching out and reaching moms who are already in that chapter, in that space, but pivoting again, and trying to see what our next steps
Yeah.
should be to grow the brand. Yes.
Well, I think that's just so smart. And I don't think enough brands have the wherewithal to realize that that's the right thing to do. It's really hard to do, to say, we need to be where we're at. We need to watch what we're spending, and we just need to start being bigger. We need to take what we've got now and grow our community and grow our sales. And I just think you're doing so many things right. And I think at some point it is really just going to turn on for you, and just your dreams are there because they can happen for you. So I'm just so excited to watch it. It's going to be amazing. Tell us how people
Oh,
can
thank you
find
so
you
much,
if
Rick.
they're looking for your stuff. How can they buy from you?
Yes. So our website is mlmbrand.com. And I guess you shouldn't open it on Safari because it looks weird. I don't know. I hope it's going to get fixed soon. but that's our website, and we're also on Instagram at MLM Brand, and that's mostly where I hang out and connect with you guys. And you can always send me an email at magda@themlmbrand.com. And yeah, if you are ever in LA, I'd love to for you to say hi. I've met some incredible people in person, and if you are a mom or if you're an influencer or anyone in that space, I'd love to connect. So just always feel free to send me a message.
Love that. Well, thank you so much for being here with me today. This was so fantastic. I'm so glad we got to talk all about your brand, and I'm just so excited to watch you grow from here. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Rachel. I know I already said it at the beginning, but I feel so lucky that we've met, and I was so looking forward to this chat. I really enjoyed talking with you, and it was really my honor to be a guest in your podcast.
Oh, the feeling is so mutual. Thank you so much for listening to the Business of Apparel podcast. I would so appreciate hearing your thoughts on the show, and if you know someone who could benefit from it, please share it with them. My biggest desire is to help other apparel professionals understand the nuances of our industry so we can all work toward making better product for a better world. If you would like to connect further, I'd love to invite you to send me a message through my website, thebusinessofapparel.com, where I do weekly trainings through my YouTube video channel, a weekly newsletter, blog articles, and so many more resources to help you start and scale a profitable apparel brand. This podcast is produced by Box 7 Media, who I cannot speak highly enough of. If you're looking to start your own podcast, you can reach out to Jeremy at Box 7 Media on LinkedIn anytime.